This is the People's Water Board Coalition Water Wednesday webcast for December 1st, 2012.
Welcome, 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 beloved community. We are back again with another installment of our wonderful Water Wednesdays webcast presented by the People's Water Board Coalition. And today I am here with my three co-hosts, Miss Charlotte Willis, Valerie Jean Blakely, and Rosalind Walker. And we won't behind the scenes tech guy, Lou Novak, who keeps us running smoothly week after week. And today we have a very special guest here with us from Food and Water Watch. We have Miss Mary Grant, and her official title is Public Water for All Campaign Director, but we also know her as a fellow water warrior fighting grassroots on the ground, running for water equity and quality for all. Thank you so much for being here, Mary.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Exciting to be here with you today.
We have so much to talk about. I'm just thrilled that you were able to take the time. I know time is precious these days. I was so thrilled that you were able to take the time and be with us today. We're going to jump right into it because we only have a half hour to talk. And we really want to know about and talk about what water insecurities folks are facing, people and communities are facing across the nation. What does that look like? And what have you all learned from Food and Water Watch? What do folks need to know?
Well, water access is an issue across the country. It's water affordability issues are a growing crisis across the country. Folks, you all in Detroit know that you are at the forefront of the fight for water affordability, but across the country, we're seeing it from Philadelphia to Phoenix. People are struggling with water access because bills are going up. And people also have toxic water. Again, Michigan, you all know about lead in the water, but there's many other toxics. PFAS is a big issue in Michigan and other states across the country. The more we look for it, the more we find it. These are toxic per and polyfluoroalkyl substances that are in our water. It's lab-made chemical. So these are industry, the military polluting our waters, and it's in our water supplies. There's also a lot of people who don't have running water in their home, particularly on like the Navajo Nation and other indigenous communities. People lack the basic plumbing and pipes and fixtures to have running water at home. So water insecurity is a crisis across the country, from toxic water to unaffordable bills to just the lack of infrastructure. And then on top of that, we also have the wastewater side, where folks are struggling with toxic sewage spills into the waterways, onto their lawns. Their septic systems are failing. There's no funding to support a lot of these aging septic systems. And there's a crisis with raw sewage in our waterways, poisoning like oyster beds, poisoning beaches. So I think our infrastructure is really old. It's in crisis. And the issue is at the heart of it, I think, is austerity, like federal government cutbacks. There used to be a lot of money put in by the federal government to support our water and sewer systems. But since 1977, federal funding has fallen by 77%. So federal support for water infrastructure peaked in the late 1970s. And during Reagan, they replaced grants with loans. And then each year, those loans have been cut back. They've been pretty steady. And there's an infrastructure bill that just passed that provides a little bit of infusion, but it's falling far short of what our communities need.
That's what I'm really worried about. I met with a young mother the other day from Lowndes County, Alabama, and she has that problem with sewage. Just her whole, she said her whole backyard is full of it. You can smell it in the house. And she's been fighting to get infrastructure and things like that for the last few years for the place that she lives, and she just can't get it. It's just that way all over the nation then. Huh?
Yeah, it is. Even if you're on a pipe sewer system, people are getting sewage backed up into our homes. In Baltimore, it's a big issue. Older homes, like when the storm with climate change, we're getting these really heavy wet weather events, and then sewage is backing up into people's basements. And this is really toxic stuff. Mold can grow. It's like not good for your health to be exposed to raw sewage.
And that was my next thing to say, that, with the water struggles, it's connected to the climate change,
climate change is just making everything worse. It's about access to safe water. If you're like on the West Coast, it's like water scarcity is a big issue. Like people don't have water. Like it's snow melt's not happening. The groundwater is being depleted by industry and big factory farms and agriculture. And then wells are actually going dry out in California and a lot of places, particularly for like rural farm worker communities. But then on like the Midwest and the East Coast, we're getting these heavy rain events, and it's like causing massive flooding. And our sewer systems, our stormwater systems, they're not built to handle these massive storm events. So it's in some places, and with rising sea levels too, like in like the South, some wastewater treatment plants, water trans will actually have to relocate because they're going to get flooded by the rising ocean waters. So one estimate put the total cost of addressing climate change at $1 trillion by 2050. $1 trillion just to address the impacts of climate change on our water and sewer systems. And that's not about improving them. It's just about addressing those needs. It's not making them better. It's just making sure that they're more climate resilient.
Marion, your opinion, what do you think is some of the roots of these problems? Why has it taken so long for our government to address our infrastructure, which is causing all these problems?
I think there was this mantra, like it started, I think, a lot with Reagan and then into the 90s with Bush and Clinton, Bush Senior and Clinton, this idea that the cost of water and sewer systems should be under this framework of full cost pricing. This means that ratepayers, the user, the customer, the household, has to pay the full cost of water and sewer services. But water bills are so regressive. Working folk pay a disproportionate amount of money on their water and wastewater bill. It's the most regressive bill you pay. It's more regressive than property taxes. It can be more regressive than sales taxes. It's because of how we structure this, it's making people who are least able to pay the most proportionally. And as our systems age, they were built like more than 50 years ago with those federal grants. Those grants are gone. Now we have loans, and without and now they're aging. We need to replace them, update them, address climate change, address all these new toxics that industry is dumping into our waters, like PFAS, and make improvements. But it's all borne by households. And because it's really regressive and the people who are least able to pay are paying the most proportionally.
We know all about that in Detroit, don't we?
Yes, we do know all about that, because they want to make sure that we pay their bill. Well, we can't even pay our own bill and have to pay for their bill and their messed up things that they have did. And with the money for the infrastructure, you have to follow that money, because it can go a whole different way. You know, they take the money once they get it and do whatever they want to do with it.
Well, and the cost of the infrastructure always falls on us in Detroit. All of it. We serve 90 different municipalities out of our water infrastructure, out of our water and sewage plant, and all of that, any kind of maintenance or infrastructure, always falls on Detroiters.
Residents and the residents.
Outer municipalities.
And the way that they do it, to put it on the residents, they raise our water rates, and they call it raising water rates when they really raising your water bill.
Well, ultimately, if your rates go up, your bills go up as well, because the rates calculate your bill.
Yeah. I know a couple of people that have the same problem that you know about, Valerie Jean. There's a couple of people I know that got raw sewage coming up in their basement. It's constantly coming in their basement. And they can't hardly get nobody to come out and fix it. And then they decided to pay for it. And one of them paid $1,000 to get that straightened out in their house. And that's wrong, you know.
For people who are already living in extreme poverty to have to fix that kind of infrastructure and things, no, and just not even their fault. It puts people back months and months, and sometimes it takes, they never recover from it. It's like I can
attest to that. I still have not recovered from that water bill. My credit was shot, and I haven't prided myself on maintaining my credit. But once you get a bankruptcy on your credit, that just takes
done.
Yeah. I literally went from like a 675 down to a 400 credit score. You know, because of course you start it's a snowball effect. You can't afford the rates. You continue to try to pay your bill, but maintain your other living expenses. and you start robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then you find out, well, now I owe this person too because I've been trying to pay this person, or all my credit cards are maxed out because I'm trying to pay this bill, and then you have to end up just destroying your livelihood for all of this. And some people never recover. I know residents in my prior community that face water shutoffs that they don't even live in the city of Detroit anymore.
Right. A lot of people have to move out of the city of Detroit. They have to move like an apartment building where, water is, included in the rent and everything. And they have to be off the radar. So that's why you don't see a lot of people, they struggling, but they can't live where they want to live at. So a lot of homes are gone because of no water,
These people actually left Michigan. So not only does that deplete from the Michigan tax base, it depletes from the Detroit tax base, which again starts another effect because it's like, oh, it's less people. Let's raise the rate so we can keep going on the people that are left here, even though they are some of the most vulnerable. And it just continues that vicious cycle, which I really feel like in some instances is a tactic to dismantle these communities of color, of poorer people that they feel are dispensable and unusable anymore.
And then you look at it and you say color, it's all racist. It's no color no more. If you don't have the means and the money, you out.
Mary, what do you think can be done about these things? Any organization that we can contact to help some of these people out?
Yeah, so I think you all as the People's Water Board are doing amazing work and kind of like provide a model, I think, for other communities to get organized, bring groups together and fight for a real water affordability program. The model that we've been using, promoting around the country is the model that came from Detroit. It's the income-based water affordability program that you all had the idea of. It came from Detroit. It's based there.
And they're using it other places, but not here. That's so sad that they are so, I don't even know the word to use. They're so against of us living fairly, and everybody have the same thing that we have, the things that you need. Water, you need water. Your body is 80% of water. And then the things that they make us pay for with the water company, like drainage and sewage. Wow. When it rains, how can we control what's going down our sewage, down our house,
I think what sums it up is their opinion of communities who are dealing with water insecurity is what I've heard vocalized to me several times when I told my story, which was, we're not saying you don't have a human right to water, but if you want water, go to the river and get it.
Folks, no one should drink river water. We need it treated and sanitized. That's terrible advice that the city is telling you that.
Yeah.
Water is a basic human right. The human right framework means it has to be affordable, and it has to be affordable based on your income. You should not be paying more than 3% of your income. But in Detroit, the average bill is 10% of your income.
It's 10, 30, and 50.
No,
and then we fall on that. If you cannot pay your current bill, how can you pay a new bill and your old bill at the same time?
That's just the plan.
They set you up for failure.
I know people personally that I've met, who some of which no longer live here, who were literally coming to me because they knew even though I was going through this, I was working with it. And one lady actually showed me her income, and she was paying about 80% of her income to keep her water going. Like she only got like $700 a month, and she was paying like $400 a month for a water bill.
So next thing gonna happen is gonna be eviction because she can't pay her rent.
She just left. She just abandoned everything and just left.
Yeah, if you can't afford your water, you're gonna leave there. It is the cruelty of it, of telling somebody to go to the river after you can't drink from a river no more, can you? No, you'll die.
Oh, Valerie Jean, that was mild.
Jumped in.
That was mild.
And it's not our fault.
I heard. Some of the things that was one of the milder ones. I've heard.
No, the cruelness of it all, just the absolute no will whatsoever to make sure that people have clean, affordable water. How dare you? The unmitigated nerve. Mary, what kind of policies are Food and Water Watch kind of pushing right now to kind of address these things that folks are going through? It's a life or death situation for most people.
Yes, it is.
So at the federal level, we're pushing a bill called the Water Act, the Water Affordability, Transparency, Equity, and Reliability Act. It would create a water trust fund, providing $35 billion each and every year for water infrastructure. At least half of that has to be grants dedicated first to disadvantaged communities. That's to restore the federal government commitment to safe water and accessible water and wastewater services. And it would be funded for, but like what you were saying, like regular people aren't responsible for the pollution of our waterways, these toxics in our waters. It's industry, it's corporations. So the Water Act would make corporations pay their fair share finally for cleaning up our water. It would just a tiny rollback of the Trump administration's corporate income tax cuts, a 3.5 percentage point increase in the corporate income tax rate for the largest corporations would fully fund our water infrastructure across the country. $35 billion is what the EPA says we need to spend just to comply with federal standards. So that's what the Water Act would do. And that's our vision for what it is, changing how we pay for it. We need corporations to pay their fair share. We need more progressive revenue coming in to make sure that people have infrastructure in place, that we're reaching people with septic systems, household wells, that we're cleaning up these toxics, that we're stopping wastewater spills and these sewage backups, as well as investing in infrastructure and removing lead pipes. And then at the local level and the state level, the vision we see is the vision that's coming out of Detroit, the percentage of income payment plan with arrearage management programs, because water debt is such a big issue as well. Like you were saying, Nicole, like if you have water debt, you can't dig your way out of that and maintaining your each bill each year. So there's debt forgiveness is what we've been calling for too at the local level. We've worked using the Philadelphia as the first city to pass it, that percentage of income payment program. They have debt forgiveness that went into effect last October. Now we're working in Baltimore. Hopefully it'll be set up soon. Every day there's another excuse from them about why it's not up and running. It was supposed to be legally by July 1st of this year. It's not up, but hopefully by the end of the month. Percentage of income payment program, income-based water rates, capping water bills for households based on household income at 3% of their income on a sliding scale based on your federal poverty line, where you fall in the federal poverty line. Chicago is looking at a model similar. There's Toledo, Ohio, that I know that like Roger Colton, Freshwater Future are working with. And I think Joliet just recently announced a plan to make like big corporations like Amazon pay a tax to fund a water affordability program. So they're launching a campaign there in Illinois. So I think this is a model that we need to see across the nation, like the model that you folks in Detroit have been working on for like 2 decades, just having it like across the board be the policy that we need for at the local level.
You know, here in Detroit, the mayor in December 2020, after almost a whole year going through COVID, decided that he would call a 2-year moratorium here in Detroit on water shutoffs. We are all extremely concerned if we don't get the water affordability plan pushed before the end of that it'll look worse than it, water shutoffs. Mass water shutoffs will look worse at the end of that moratorium than they ever did in 2013 and 14, which was horrible. We watched whole neighborhoods get shut off.
Actually, you basically can go all the way back to 2005 when they was doing it secretly and people, really wasn't saying that until we brought it to the forefront. And that was like 2011 when we like, no, y'all gonna stop cutting off these people water. They cannot afford to pay these high water bills that the city and the state was making for these people. Basically, when you got water main breaks, you got leakage here up under the ground, leakage everywhere. So basically we paying for all those leakage.
I mean, that's the thing is we're all really, really concerned about not having a water affordability plan set in place before that. Do you see that in other parts of the country where they have moratoriums in place and they're really in jeopardy of mass water shutoffs after that?
I think so. I think it's an issue across the country. Some states have passed laws like Pennsylvania and like New York requiring, and New Jersey requiring that water systems offer at least deferred payment plans, so that, because people under the moratorium, you accrued a lot of debt. Like you don't have a job, like there is a pandemic, you can't go out, you need to take care of sick family, whatever. Like there's a lot of factors. So a lot of people have accrued a lot of water debt. And I think the estimate I saw that it could be as much as like $10 billion just for the first year and a half of the pandemic. So the pandemic isn't over, right? Like we have this new variant, cases are going up. Michigan's really bad right now. Across the country though, it's going up. So it's not over. That people need to maintain access to water to prevent the spread of disease right now. But then at the end, we need to have debt forgiveness. I think it's water affordability. So your bill going forward is affordable, but you also need to address the debt that people have accrued during the pandemic or even before the pandemic. You need, we call it's like an arrearage management program. So the model that we like, Chicago has one that's really good. It's that you enroll in a water affordability program. And then at the end of the year, if you stay up to date on your new discounted bill, at the end of the year, your debt is forgiven. I think that's a good model. Baltimore's model is that each on-time payment of your affordable bill, you don't pay anything more than that, 3% of your income on your bill. And then each on-time payment counts toward repayment of your existing debt. So it's a pathway out of water debt. It works really well in the gas and electricity sectors to encourage people to maintain, like from the utilities perspective, Roger Fulton talks about it as encouraging customers to stay current on their bills, but it's also just really, we need to address the debt. I mean, it doesn't make sense to just give people discounts and then they have all like thousands of dollars of debt on the books. They can't pay it off. It doesn't mean anything to have a discount if you're not addressing that debt.
That's right.
And it's not just that it encourages them to pay their bill, because most of the people that I meet are not having an issue wanting to pay their bill. The issue is being able to afford the bill. So this makes it where they can actually afford to stay up to date on their bills, which is vitally important because, that's the reason that the city of Detroit even has the moratorium or had the $25 a month water program, was because we as the People's Water Board and other organizations went to the governor and was like, this is it's going to be a crisis. Hand washing is the first line of defense against the vast majority of diseases. And the thing is that coming out of that, just a couple years prior to the pandemic hitting, we had a huge hepatitis A pandemic going on in Detroit because people couldn't wash their hands and they had to go to work to try to make money to pay water bills. And, it's just like, hey, I'm going to hope for the best and I'm going to go on out here and go to work, so we constantly trying to tell her
the scary part of it all, for real. Yeah. And if you think about it, the same thing that happened back when hepatitis A was so prevalent here. They were telling people, don't go to Michigan. It's bad. Don't travel to Michigan. Yeah. Now we've got COVID so bad. They're telling folks, don't travel to Michigan. It's the same. Yeah. We never learned. We never learned.
Well, we learned.
They didn't learn. Don't say that the residents didn't learn, and the community, the people in the community and the neighborhoods didn't learn. We learned. Who didn't learn was, well, I'm not supposed to bash nobody, but anyway, we know who didn't learn and didn't care. Everybody up in corporate and everybody has the power, and whoever run the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, they didn't learn. Right. And they probably got their water set at, you get a discount when you work for them. They probably know ways to even turn their valves off at their home. They might not even be getting charged, So, hey, that's a big thing to think about too.
How about they may not even live in Detroit?
Right.
Mm-hmm. For the new variant in the water, in the sewage water in different cities, right? So if that's the case, you could get the science go down to your water and tell you whether that variant is here or not. Okay, and that's what they're doing right now. They thinking it's coming through in the water. Okay, so what we supposed to do? They need to clean the water and get it straight. That's what they need to do, because a whole lot of people get sick from this.
Well, that's why we fight for the clean water, affordable.
Y'all saying that they're not giving up. They even gonna put your water bill on your taxes. Okay, they trying to put your water bill on your.
They already doing that. They not trying. They do that.
Yeah, they doing it to put on your taxes, and everything is connected to water, finding all diseases and all this stuff. And they're not thinking about the people in the city. They're not thinking about the people in the country. They're thinking about a way so they can avoid all this and not give people water or have an Affordability Act. That's the problem. The government is the problem. And our mayor is the problem. Okay, I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't speak on the mayor.
I ain't talking about that man. He ain't
We
doing
cannot
it.
do that in water on the live thing. Don't do that.
I can't.
But Mary, when you say food and water, and when you think about food and water, you think about us growing vegetables, and and we need water for the vegetables and clean water for the ground. So if everything is toxic, we don't know what, you look at people that had cancer, and you look at people that have all these different diseases, it could come from the water.
No, exactly. And these PFAS chemicals are really toxic. I think
Yes.
the more we find them, the more we find how dangerous they are. And sometimes it's it's in produce too, or in dairy milk. So
Right.
connected. Like the way we pollute and treat our water is affecting everything.
Right.
About corporations. Let's be clear. The regular person, your impact isn't that big, right? It's the corporations who are polluting our waterways, and you need to be held responsible and start paying their fair share to clean it up.
That's right.
Mary, what can folks do to fight back? What kind of things can be done that regular people can do to fight back? And really, here in Detroit, we've got to figure it out. We've got to get something, because we just
can't get the right people to get involved.
And really, when she say here in Detroit, we really need, people to stand up, and we really need this Clean Affordable Water Act. We implemented this thing, and then they're using it in other states and other cities, when here they won't even use our own plan to keep us down.
What can people do?
Here, they're waiting to see what happens in Baltimore and Philadelphia.
Is that what they're saying? Well, Philadelphia's going well. There's data for Philly.
That came out of the head of the water department and the head of the city's mouth. That we like to see what happens with the plan they've instituted in Philadelphia and in Baltimore, not realizing, which we did point out, that's the same plan we presented to you.
Mm-hmm. It's your plan. Philly and Baltimore ran with your idea.
Exactly.
And it's working really well in Philadelphia. There is data. Roger Colton recently did a study looking at how it's helping folks. It's preventing shutoffs. It's preventing tax sales. People aren't losing their home over unpaid water bills anymore. There's direct data that he's done an analysis showing that it's working. The city isn't losing revenue. It's just working out for everybody. So I think it's a good model. And you don't need to wait for any more data. There's enough, and there's enough from the gas and electricity sector where
the model speaks their language, because it would increase revenue. And I know that sounds good to them. I really think it just boils down to the fact that they didn't create the plan. They would not be saying, no one would be saying, oh, the city of Detroit instituted this, and we're so grateful they did such a great job coming up with this, because they can't acknowledge formally that they created this plan. And that's what it boils down to. It's a horse race to say, oh, I won the flowers around my neck. And, instead of just saying, here's a plan, it was formulated, we're instituting it, and we think it'll work for our city. They'd rather let their very residents suffer because they can't take full credit for it.
Mary, can you share that study that Roger Colton did with us? If you email it, can we share it out?
Yeah, definitely. It's part of the Philly has a rate case model. But you asked earlier, Valerie, about what can be done, and I think like you all are doing it, like People's Water Board. And I think everyone listening needs to just get involved with the People's Water Board and fight. Hold your elected officials accountable. Your city council, your mayor, those are the people you want to go to. You want to show up. You want to get in the door with them, call them, like email them, get on the phone with them, show up to events where they're at, bird dog them, make sure that they know that they need to make the water department set up the water affordability plan. I don't think water department officials, they're bureaucracies, right? They're just, they're not elected officials. They're not accountable to you. That's why you need to go to your elected officials and hold them accountable.
And that's what I was going to say, that everybody that's watching and listening need to reach out to their representative, to the governor, to the mayor. Just reach out and let them know that these are the things that need to be done. If they using our plan in other cities, and basically they might be using them in other countries, and it's working for them, and we came up with it, why wouldn't it work for us?
That's a great way to kind of end it, I think. It's such an important conversation for us to have, and I really hope that it's on everybody's mind, yeah.
And I'll tell the residents and the viewers, if you need some numbers to the state representatives, all you have to do is Google. You can Google their names, you can get their emails off of Google, and reach out to these people and let them know that we need clean and affordable water.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining us. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to have you back maybe at the beginning of the year to see what kind of infrastructure bills were able to be passed and talk about what that looks like. I know it's a long haul, but we hope to have you back.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And take care, everybody.
Bye, Mary.
Bye, Mary, and thank you so much, Mary, and keep up the good work with the Food and Water Works.